Hello, I'm Jennifer Hancock, and this is Ask a Humanist for December 2012. And today we're going to do a special holiday Ask a Humanist. How do humanists celebrate the holidays? What kind of beliefs do we have? What celebrations do we partake in? And things like that. Because I get a lot of questions from other humanists or new humanist families who aren't sure how to approach the holiday season in a way that's consistent with their values. So we're going to talk about how humanists do that. I'm a lifelong humanist. I was raised with these principles, so it kind of comes naturally to me. And the first thing I want you to know is if you're a non-believer, if you're a humanist, and you're coming up on the holidays and you don't know how to approach it with your family, just breath and relax. This is a time of goodwill and cheer for all people, including you. And being a humanist does not mean being a Scrooge. If there is a party that involves human beings, let's join with them in the good cheer. There's no reason to create a fuss, and we'll go into why that is in a little bit. First, what is a humanist? A humanist is someone who, without supernaturalism, has decided for themselves that they are going to live an ethical life of personal fulfillment that aspires to the greater good of humanity. In other words, be the best person you can be. Try to make the world a better place while you're here. Humanism is an ethical philosophy. It is probably one of the most humane and holistic approaches to ethical philosophy that humans have ever developed. And there's a reason for that. And that reason is that we don't have any dogma. We're constantly improving there is no set thing, what it means to be a good human being. We're constantly learning, we're constantly improving. So when we find something was wrong or that there's a better way to do it, we are willing to improve that. And yes, Wild Man, I am a secular humanist. All humanists are by definition secular because humanism is a secular philosophy. It is focused on pragmatic ways to be a good person. It's not about supernaturalism. That's irrelevant. And the reason it's irrelevant is because it doesn't help us solve our problems. We are more concerned with the best way to solve our problems. And the best way to solve our problems is to focus on what's really happening and what we can know. If there were supernaturalism, we would embrace that. But at the moment, praying for rain is a crapshoot. So we're going to irrigate our field. And that's really what it means. I personally am an atheist, but I'm also an agnostic, meaning that I don't believe that there is, but I'm not 100% sure. I'm a skeptic, an open-minded skeptic. But that's really not really relevant to anybody, because what you need to know is that I have chosen to live my life ethically, responsibly, and compassionately. So let's apply this to the holidays, because we've got several. We just finished up with Hanukkah. We've got Christmas coming up, the solstice, human light, Saturnalia, and Kwanzaa is coming up, and whatever other holidays you might like. My family happens to celebrate all the holidays we can get our hands on. We haven't met a holiday we haven't liked, and my son is with us. Here is our menorah. And yeah, it's still out. We're probably going to use it for Christmas Eve lighting as well, and obviously we're going to use it as our kinara for Kwanzaa as well. And there is a holiday for humanists. It's called Human Light, and it's celebrated on the solstice with a feast. And it's kind of like an alternative to a Christmas feast. We happen to do both the Human Light feast and the Christmas feast and the Saturnalia feast because we like feasting. As far as I'm concerned, if there's a party and there's food involved, I'm like so there. And I think this is a really good attitude to have because the theme of the season is peace on earth, goodwill towards all. I don't have ill will to the people who celebrate Christmas. I celebrate Christmas. We have 2 nativities in our house. We understand that Christ is the reason for Christmas. We also understand that Saturn is the reason for Saturnalia, and and that the oil thing was the reason for Hanukkah. So I view this time as a humanist parent as an opportunity to teach my child comparative religion. We don't hide these from him. We teach him the full-bore religion on each of these things. And it's up to him to decide what he wants to believe or not believe. So it's actually I think when I talk to other humanist parents about this and I explain this is how we do it, they're really, really relieved, because I think there's a sense that when you've given up your belief in the supernatural, that you have to forego the trappings of religion to be consistent with yourself. And you can still enjoy the holidays. You just add new meaning to it. And that's really what it is. So what holiday do humanists celebrate? We celebrate them all. It all really depends on the background. People who come out of the Jewish tradition tend to still celebrate Hanukkah. People who come out of the Christian tradition tend to still celebrate Christmas. I was raised as a free thinker, so I didn't have belief pushed on me growing up. And so we celebrate all of them. We happen to really like Saturnalia, though, I have to say. Saturnalia is pretty awesome. And this year I didn't have to decorate my tree outside because it's got all sorts of lovely orange tangelo fruits on it, so I didn't have to decorate for it. But, I don't think we have to be afraid of them. I think we can use them for ourselves to celebrate with our family the end of the year. If what you like is the end of the year and you want to think about the future, this is a great time to do that. The point is, being a humanist is about living your life joyfully and fully and compassionately and rationally and responsibly. And I don't think there's really any need to engage in a my holiday is better than your holiday all-day wars. I think that's kind of counterproductive to everything. Let the fundamentalist Christians have their war. They can fight with themselves over that. I really don't care. I'm going to do what works for me and my family. And the point is, like everything else about humanism, there's no one right way to celebrate the holidays. Some people don't celebrate them at all. And that's fine too. Some people only celebrate the humanist holiday, which is Human Light, and you can look that up online. Some people, are lonely and they need people to reach out to them. And I think this is what, as a humanist we should be focused on, is how do we reach out to other people with love and with compassion and with respect. And that's what I like to focus on. So there you go. How does a humanist celebrate the holidays? Every which way we can. And if you're in a good mood, celebrate them all. They're all good. I like to learn about other holidays and to celebrate them. So the next question is, what about family traditions? What do humanists do with family traditions? Because humanists aren't just old white men. They're people like me. I have a 7-year-old child. And a lot of it is just finding new ways to integrate old traditions into our lives. I think we as humans need these traditions. They help keep us grounded. They're things that we like. They're things that we enjoy. And every family that comes together as a new family pretty much makes up new traditions based on kind of a blending of the old traditions that the parents are bringing in to the holiday. And my husband and I have this problem. He really likes turkey. He thinks of Christmas as turkey time, turkey feast. And for me and my family, we weren't religious, but we have religious relatives, and we used to go to a Christmas feast every year. But my sister was a vegetarian growing up. So my aunt, who was Italian, would make things like walnut enchiladas for Christmas dinner. So I never really had a turkey for Christmas dinner. I do not associate turkey with Christmas dinner. I associate kind of weird, funky food with Christmas dinner, like exotic food. And at some point, I think my aunt and her whole family was sick. So me and my sister and my dad and my sister's fiance started going to Chinatown in Los Angeles and going to eat at a fish restaurant. The sort of restaurant where you say, I want that fish done in a sweet sour sauce, and I want that one done in a garlic sauce. So we would stuff ourselves silly on Chinese fish, and it was great. I was with family and everything. So I don't associate turkey dinner with Christmas. I associate exotic food with Christmas. So my husband and I have solved this blending by making sure that either Thanksgiving or Christmas is a turkey and the other one is not. And this is, how families blend. Okay, so when you bring this into the humanist framework, it's rare to find people like me who were raised as humanists, right? That our traditions involve supporting other extended family members in their faith. So we celebrated Hanukkah with the Jewish side of the family. We celebrated Catholic Christmas Mass with the other side of the family. And we used to go to the Greek Orthodox Church for the midnight Christmas Mass because it was fun, and there was always like a Mickey doll stuffed somewhere in the midst of the statuary. It was always fun. And they always have that chi-ching incense thing that they do. So, my husband, on the other hand, was a traditional, mainstream, I suppose, Christian family with the turkey and everything like that. So, nowadays, we do them all. We do the Hanukkah, we do the Christmas, we have a feast and whatnot. I think the point is that if you've got a humanist family, part of what the humanist parent is trying to do is not to indoctrinate our child in belief or non-belief. Indoctrinating our child into non-belief is just as inappropriate as indoctrinating them into faith. What we're trying to do is raise them to be free thinkers. And that's a very different thing than raising them to be an atheist. I want my child to be a free thinker, whatever he ends up believing. That'll probably mean he'll not be religious, but you never know, as long as he's thinking for himself and he knows how to think critically. So we use a lot of Socratic method with him. So I use this opportunity. I view the holidays as a perfect time to teach comparative religion to my child. I want him to know what the Christian traditions are. I want him to know the Jesus story. Not because I want him to believe in it as real, but because he needs to be culturally literate to survive in this world. But I don't just want him to know the Christian story. I want him to know the Jewish holiday story of the lighting of the menorah as well, and why that happened. So we didn't go to it this year because it was raining, but we normally go to the Chabad's giant menorah lighting. And it's great because we have latkes, and they have a big giant dreidel where you can get your picture taken with a Maccabee. And, he gets to learn about the story behind the holiday. And our Christmas celebration is actually more of a Saturnalia celebration, so that he learns about the history of all the non-Christian elements of the Christian holiday, the trees, Santa, greenery in the house, decorations, candles. Those all come from Saturnalia. So we do a Saturnalia-style Christmas here. And we even wear the Phrygian caps, which everybody else knows is Santa caps, but Phrygian caps. And so, we do that. And what I'm hoping he's going to get out of this comparative tradition, and we do light a Kinara as well, is an understanding that there's no one right way to approach faith, that no faith corners the market on truth. That they're all attempts by people to remember their heritage, remember the stories that go with their heritage, and to build afresh in the modern world. And I think having a comparative approach to religion really helps them. Hey, if they're going to decide for themselves what they want to believe later on, I want him to be making an informed decision later on, which means he has to know what Muslims believe and what Jews believe and what Hindus believe and what Christians believe, and the variety of beliefs within those traditions as well. And Christmas time, the holiday season, is a perfect time for this because you have all these great celebrations you can participate in, and they're all fun. Spinning the dreidel and playing with the dreidel is fun. Hanging up stockings for Santa is fun. Having a nativity scene and going through a walk through nativity is really fun and educational. So we don't hide any of this from him. We don't hide the religious aspects of the holiday from him just because we're humanists. We want him to learn that. And we want him to learn it from us so that A, he's culturally literate, and that B, he's more informed when he's at a point in his life in his teens where he's ready to start thinking about what he truly believes. And, and it's kind of funny, and I don't want any Christian watching this to think it's blasphemous. He told me last night he was a Christian, but then it had something to do with all these monsters he believes in, and it was like kind of a Christian Egyptian because he was talking about King Tut, and he was going to have this massive tomb, but he didn't need food in the tomb like King Tut did because he was a Christian, and he's not going to need it in the afterlife. But I said, well, okay, well then what do you need the tomb for? You don't need this house, this massive underground tomb house either. And he goes, oh, well, I'm a Christian Egyptian thing. And then there was monsters and stuff. So, this is what for humanist parents, when your child is playing with these religious ideas and trying them on for size and kind of ascribing these beliefs to themselves, that's all they're doing. They're trying it on. They're learning. They're experimenting. They're exploring. This is healthy brain activity for a child. It's play. It's how they learn. So don't be afraid of allowing your child to learn these things. Help them explore. Help them learn. Give them the tools so that they can learn these things. And use the holiday season as a perfect opportunity for that. That way you can incorporate the traditions you loved as a child into your new family tradition as a humanist parent. And you don't have to feel that you're being hypocritical about teaching your child something that you no longer believe, because you're not teaching it that way if it's comparative religion. I tell my son about the Jesus story, and I don't give him my opinion about whether he hasn't asked me whether Jesus really existed or not. He just wants to know the story. And I think he treats it as he does all other stories. I don't know if he thinks Jesus was a real person or not. I honestly don't. He probably doesn't, in all honesty. So don't be afraid of that. It's a great opportunity, and this approach allows you to integrate these beliefs into your system now, into your tradition, into your new tradition. Now, I understand people who had a negative experience with religion, and there's a lot of people out there that were really harmed by religion as a child. You're not going to want to do this approach, and that's okay too. There's no one right way to celebrate the holidays. If it makes you uncomfortable, if you don't even want to have any memories of that in your life, then don't have them in your life. It's really okay. Do something else. Celebrate human life. Celebrate Kwanzaa. Celebrate Saturnalia. Do something else that makes you happy. Because the point of the holiday season is to be joyous. It's to be happy. It's not to be a Scrooge. Yes, it can be very, very hard this time of year if you've lost someone that has memories and ties to this time of year, or if you're suffering trauma from religion to not have it brought up. Find another way to find peace for yourself and happiness. And don't begrudge other people the love that they're expressing this time of year, because anybody expressing love anytime is a good thing, and in any way, even if it's couched in religious things. Try to detach from that and take the space you need to create the space at your home to celebrate a holiday, whatever that is, the way you want, or no holidays. That's fine too. The next question I get is kind of related to the holidays, and it has to do with, is there such a thing as a humanist church, a place where weekly services exist, to contemplate morality in the same way that religious services do, and to help with volunteering? And the answer to that is kind of yes, kind of no. There is a North Texas Church of Free Thought in Dallas, I think. Houston South. So there's a humanist community in Houston, but I think the North Texas Church of Free Thought is north of Dallas. There's also a humanist community in San Francisco that has events every week. There's a humanist chaplaincy at Harvard, which does have meditation time and things like that. But you have to remember that humanism as an organized movement is less than 100 years old. The philosophy has always been around. It's always been there. But it's never been organized into communities until recently. So we have a lot of catching up to do. Because when you think about it, like Catholic and Christian churches, they've been around for a couple thousand years. That's a lot of time to organize. Now, there is movement within the humanist community to create these things and to create new traditions. Here in Florida, where I live, some of my friends and I are talking about creating a Center for Humanist Learning that would have Sunday meditation services. And yes, a lot of humanists do meditate. Why do we meditate? Because it's good to help learn how to calm your mind. Why? Because making good decisions requires a calm mind. And it's really hard to make decisions when you're upset, and we all get upset. And meditation is a practice of how to calm your mind. And the more you do it, the easier it gets. So yes, humanists do practice meditation, not for spiritual reasons, but for practical, very, very practical reasons. And, you know, we would use the center kind of the way religious people use a church, except that it wouldn't be a church because it's a humanist center for learning and living, life skills. So I think in the next 15, 20 years, you're going to see more communities built kind of on a churchy sort of school of life model. It'll be interesting to see where that goes, whether we can get something started here in Florida. I know there's a couple of models out there. There's certainly the American Ethical Culture Society, but that's mostly in the Northeast. Those are, in fact, humanist churches. There's also UUs. One of the tradition of the UU is humanism. The others are Unitarianism and Universalism, which are spiritual practices. So there's models out there, but there aren't any humanist churches per se, and it's unlikely humanists will create a church. They might create communities that are church-like, but not churches. So there you go. Now, I think once you start seeing those arise, and people are in the process of building these right now. I think once you start to see those arise, I think there's going to be greater awareness of humanist lifestyles, because the Pew Research Center just put out a study that said 1 in 6 people in the world are without religion. That doesn't mean they're atheists. They could be agnostics, or they could just be like my husband, not the church-going type, right? And what does that mean? But it means that they're not affiliated with a religion, and they don't find organized religion to be useful to them, or they don't want to affiliate with any one belief system because they're more spiritual in general as opposed to specific beliefs. And there are definitely problems with holding specific beliefs about how the world and the universe works, which is why humanism has no dogma, is because if you learn something new, you want to abandon the old ideas and embrace the new things that are more true than what you knew before. And there's a great essay by Isaac Asimov on being wrong, and the process of science is making us less wrong. We're still wrong, we're just less wrong than we were before. I digress. So, you know, I think that's the fear that people have about religion in general, is that it's dogmatic, and they understand that there's a value to not being dogmatic, to adjusting your knowledge as you get new information. And certainly when I look out in the world, I think there's, you know, where I live, we have a Center for Positive Living. Well, it's one of those, you think good thoughts and good things will happen to you sort of woo places, which humanists are like, that doesn't work. Positive thinking is a good thing because it helps you take positive action. But positive thinking on its own ain't going to do anything for you. You have to back up positive thinking with positive action. Humanists are definitely positivists. We are very optimistic about our opportunities and our abilities, and therefore our responsibilities to make the world a better place. But that's based on us taking action. So, you know, to kind of wrap up this December edition of Ask a Humanist. No, we don't have churches. Yes, we're in the process of building communities. As far as the holidays go, do whatever works for you. There is no dogma to a humanist. We are fine with whatever you choose. No one's going to tell you you're doing it wrong. As long as it works for you and you can find a way to rationalize what you're doing. And you don't even have, you know what, you don't even have to rationalize how you want to celebrate the holidays. You really don't. The only person you are answerable to is you. If you like it, do it. Being a humanist is all about living your life fully and intentionally and with love and compassion and with responsibility and reason. The only way to do the holidays wrong is to be a Scrooge. There you go. Have a great holiday, and I'll see you next year. Bye, everyone.